As the campaign season ramps up, by now you've likely heard about some new polls, but how much trust should we place in the results? It's a question many ask themselves following the 2016 presidential election, when most polls had Hillary Clinton leading over then candidate Donald Trump. As for how credibility around polls has rebounded since then, we got insight from Catherine Alonso, CEO of Javelina, a company in Phoenix that works with political campaigns. We should note she is working on the gubernatorial campaign for David Garcia. Catherine, thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're a political consultant, a strategist. How much weight do you put in polling?
Polling is a really important part of the process, but it's not going to be a complete picture. When you're using polls to inform a political campaign, it's very different than when you're reading just the headline and the main results of a poll. Polls are not all created equal. Some of them are constructed in a way that is far more reliable than others. And so I think voters should pay attention to them, but take the headline with a pinch of salt.
In 2016, it seems many Americans relied heavily on the presidential election for polling. And then 2014 here in Arizona with a gubernatorial race. Are we somewhat suspicious moving into the next election cycle here because they have been wrong in the past?
I think that there were a lot of lessons learned in 2016 about how polling is done and how people read them, and they were all saying the same thing. They all reinforced one incorrect narrative. And so I think you'll see some adjustments in how pollsters are doing things. But the fact remains that polls are an incredibly important part of elections, and certainly I don't think something that should be dismissed.
Take me inside to campaign mode when you work with a candidate, and there are partisan polls. So there are some that are obviously more favorable toward your candidate that would make you say, we need to listen to this one versus the other.
Yeah, and this I think is a really important point, is that all polls are not created equal, and there's a couple of things that you have to pay attention to. So you have to pay attention to who did the poll. So a poll conducted by public polling groups or by television stations are going to be very different than those conducted by partisan groups. So look at who conducted it. Do they do polling? Is polling something that they do consistently? And then also look at who paid for it. I would advise voters to always pay attention to who did it. Also, when did they do it? If a poll was done in the last couple of days, that's going to give you very different information than a poll that was done 2 or 3 weeks ago, especially on issues that change a lot at the moment, such as immigration or education.
And who are the people who participate in these polls? I can't think of how many times I've received a phone call or an email and I just dismiss it, but there are people who do give them some time and energy, and they ultimately matter in these polls.
They absolutely do. And I think one of the things that's really cool about America is that we're proud of our democracy and we like to participate in it. And so the people that participate in the polls, I think, want to make their opinion known. And when a pollster is calling through, they call through a lot more people than they need to respond.
Here in Arizona, we're about 5 weeks until the August primary. One of the polls that recently came out showed the gubernatorial race to be incredibly close between the leading Democrat David Garcia and our incumbent Republican Governor Doug Ducey. What does that do 5 weeks prior to voting day?
What it does is it really shows a important tightening in the race, and it gives David Garcia, who is the challenger in this instance, great momentum. It communicates to his supporters and to his volunteers and to his donors, this is a really, really close race. What it also does is a lot of people who might have assumed that this is, Governor Ducey's race to win, it will make them look differently about what's happening and pay closer attention.
Take, for example, the Senate race here in Arizona. It is certainly heating up. One poll, for example, just shows Kyrsten Sinema leading the way, a Democrat over at least 3 of the Republicans. Does that signal some sort of color shift that we've heard so much about here in Arizona when it comes to politics?
This is going to be a very interesting year. As we've seen around the country, there are unexpected victories and results from elections happening everywhere and in every way. And so I think that we absolutely could see Kyrsten Sinema elected to the United States Senate in Arizona. This is really an extension of 2016 in that we have to expect the unexpected.
Okay, Catherine Alonso joining us from Phoenix via Skype from Javelina. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.